Hello everyone, and welcome to another update video. This one isn't going to be particularly long because there's just not much to talk about. I'm come fresh off of, it's now the 23rd as I'm recording this, which is now very late into the month, and it's very late end of the day. I've only just finished doing the video for the Flayed Man and the Lingering Last Call, which were Last Customer even, which were two very different games, and yeah, I didn't really care much for the Lingering, but the Flayed Man was brilliant. Very, very good. All I'm really doing at the moment is sort of alternating between, you know, taking time to get through these sent-in games, which is cool. Like, a lot of them seem very interesting, and I keep on getting more. Like, I don't think I've made a dent in it just because the number that I've received is equal to the number that I've covered now. So I'm glad that I've, you know, it's an endless source of work, basically, that I don't have to pay anything for, which is very nice. But I kind of, you know, I've got a lot of stuff that I've, you know, looked at in my Steam library that I want to get through and get done, and some other games that I've bought on Xbox that I'm just very interested in. But, like, you know, I think a lot of that stuff is going to go into Halloween, or like a written review or a random review throughout the year, just because I don't know where I'm going to get around to them, just because, you know, I'm getting sent things on such a regular basis now. It's really cool. So yeah, there's that. There's not much to talk about really in regards to that. However, the special videos that I've been working on are going to be, well, one of them is going to be very interesting, and the other one I don't think is going to be as interesting. And I've had a bunch of other ideas to do with the idea of, like, I've rejoined the YouTube Partner Program, and I wasn't a huge fan of it last time because of, like, the copyright and lots of other things that were getting frustrating. Basically, like, I've been using Promise in Silent Hill 2's soundtrack for, like, the ending of the videos for quite a long time, but the second that I joined the partner program last time, it just flagged all of them up as copyright claims and said that I couldn't monetize any of those videos. Not that I really planned on doing it, but I realized that, like, if something that it didn't care about before, it suddenly started caring about now, then I would be in a situation where, like, even if I wanted to monetize these videos, I probably wouldn't be able to, just because it's gonna keep on coming up with things that, you know, I use regularly in videos that it just doesn't like. And, like, for stuff that I would even consider monetizing, like, you know, some of the longer videos that I could afford to put, like, a decent break in it and say, you know, like, you know, an advert break or something like that if I wanted to, which I'm not very keen on doing that. But if I did, like, it didn't really seem like that was going to be something that I would be able to do based on the amount of stuff that I use that is, like, you know, I can't talk about, like, the Alien films without showing Alien. You know, I can't, there's not much point doing that. Like, I use a lot of copyright content in the regards of, like, examples and stuff like that, but it's going to be much harder to do under the constraints of the YouTube Partner Program. So what I decided to try and do instead, or what I'm thinking about doing at the moment, is only really bothering doing it for shorts, but that does mean making a few shorts. And I don't think it'll be too difficult to do that. I kind of have a lot of gameplay footage already for games that I've already covered, and I can just do, like, you know, interesting facts, or even continue what I was doing last time with what I referred to as the Antagonist Codex, which was TAC, and no one knew what that meant because it took the shorts have, like, no context for them. So yeah, there wasn't really much to write about them, but people did seem to like the videos, which was or the shorts even. So yeah, it was interesting. So I might can go back to doing that and just, like, not bother monetizing the main videos and just monetize the shorts, because that doesn't really bother me, because you can't put an advert in the middle of a short. You know, that's the only concern I really have about monetizing videos, is the fact that I don't like pre-roll videos, pre-roll adverts. I think they're really annoying. I kind of look at stuff going, like, you know what, if I'm watching something and I don't like it, then someone else is gonna feel the same. Like, I don't like the second I click onto a video that I have to watch an advert before it. That makes my eyes roll. Like, especially with how egregious it's getting on YouTube at the moment, with how much they love you know, to force people to watch adverts unless you're paying for YouTube Premium, or, you know, you've got an ad blocker that still works, because like Google Chrome doesn't really want you to have ad blockers on it anymore. It's not like people aren't getting around it, but like, you know, I don't like, you know, watching adverts, and I don't want to force other people to watch adverts either. So like, you know, I've had a bunch of times where I'm watching somebody, and there's like, it's a 20-30 minute video at best, and I've seen like 5 advert breaks or whatever before I'm like 2/3 of the way through, and I'm like, God, you're getting your money's worth out of this. You know, I feel like when I know when it's enough to take me out of the experience and make me think about it, I'm just you know, I've lost it. You've lost me. Like, I've literally stopped watching videos before because like they're just the monetizing is too aggressive. So that's something that, you know, I didn't make myself, obviously. So when I put my own video there, and I'm like, I go through it, and I'm like, you know, I'm the way that I sort of focus on videos and edit through them to get them done is that I kind of, you know, I start from the start and work my way through to the finish. I know that sounds very, very obvious, but like, there's a flow to it, and that's the way that I like having it done. Like, I don't mind leaving dramatic pauses and stuff, but the thing is, you can't have a dramatic pause and then throw an advert in there and expect the flow to still work, because I don't know what the advert's going to be. So like, I don't expect any of that stuff to work whatsoever. And like, the only times that I've ever seen it work where I've actually liked the idea of like an advert popping in is when they go, and we'll see you right after the break. And the thing is, like, it won't really work if people have got an ad blocker on either, so it'll just go straight into the next thing. So because of the nature of it, you don't know what you're going to get. So there's that, and I just don't like them. I just don't like adverts, really. But pre-roll stuff for excuse me. Pre-roll stuff for a short seems fine. Like, that doesn't bother me. So yeah, that's one thing. Like, I've also been looking at the memberships again, but like, I'm kind of on the fence about what to possibly offer people in results for in exchange for memberships and stuff like that, because like, Patreon lets me get away with uploading lots of different bits and pieces, but I don't know if YouTube will let me do the same. And another thing that I don't really want is, I was going to offer like all of the early Halloween videos that I've done, of which I have several still left to work on, but that's a topic, that's something I pretty much mentioned last time, and there's been no progress. I wanted to, like, if I put like early Halloween videos on there, then, you know, people will know what the Halloween lineup is. And I suppose if you end up watching all of the Halloween videos before Halloween, then it's just going to be a month of pretty much nothing new for you. So yeah, there's that. But yeah, I've been trying to figure out a way around it. I think the hardest part of doing any kind of monetization is making it worthwhile, because again, like, I can only base this on myself, and like, I don't really sub to anybody else's Patreon and stuff like that, just because like, I don't really have the money to do so. There are services that I'll, like, you know, obviously pay for, because I think they're too good not to. Like, there's a website that I use to get all of the game soundtracks called Kingdom Hearts Insider, and it's not just Kingdom Hearts, luckily. It's got like hundreds of thousands probably of game soundtracks on there, and I use it all the time for like different, you know, videos for this channel and like videos for other videos that I do. So like, I'm always using that because it's just such a good service. So that's something that I would pay for, because it's just a really, really good service. So like, trying to think of good reasons to, you know, allow people to, you know, to reward people even for something is like, you know, or like, memberships don't sound so great if you don't really get much out of it, I suppose. I mean, people who want to support the channel will always be around, and that's fantastic, but I always feel like there's something I need to give people in order for them to do, you know, to make it worthwhile. Anyway, that's enough talking about monetization. It's way too much time talking about that. It's a quandary I don't think I'll ever get to the end of. I've been working on two main videos, and then another one that's just kind of got pushed to the sidelines that I've talked about before. And we'll talk about that one first, which is the personal versus critical list. And I'm always bringing this thing up because a lot of people only several people got confused. More people nowadays get confused that I put Five Nights at Freddy's in my top 25. God, do I keep on hearing about that. People like invalidate the entire top 25 list because Five Nights at Freddy's is on there, and I'm like, damn, when did this game become like the most unpopular thing ever? Like, you know. But the critical versus personal opinion video, I'm almost finished with it technically. I just haven't made any progress with it because I've not done any work with it. I wanted to get enough of Deadly Premonition recorded so that I could do that, but you know, that got sidelined when I started doing the 7,000 sub video, and that turned out really well despite some rendering errors which I didn't realize until after it had been uploaded, which is a bit of a shame because I'd spent a lot of time trying to get that last section to look really good, and then there's like freeze frames in there that were not in the footage that I ended up using, which is just depressing. But it's just because I don't have enough storage space to hold all of this, you know, all of the extra game footage that I ended up recording. And I spent like a week and a half playing through my favorite games. Oh my god, it was terrible. Let me tell you, it was a nightmare playing through all my favorite games. It was so bad. But yeah, it ended up with a few problems, but I'm still really thrilled with the video, mostly just because the questions were good. That was really all there was to that. That's been very good. But the critical versus personal opinion thing is basically to describe the video. I use my favorite horror games to describe the difference between things that I would like critically acclaim and things that I personally enjoy, and how those things don't line up, which is, you know, I think that's a lot of things that people don't think of too much, where they're like, I realize that I don't think a lot of people nowadays especially kind of look at something and go like, I realize this is bad, but I like it. Or like, you know, I realize that this is good, but I don't like it. And that's how a lot of things are. Like I realized that like Deadly Premonition is definitely not like, you know, the scariest game ever, but I've really enjoyed Deadly Premonition. Like, there are only a few games on the list as you get further and further down that are like, you know, I think are like critically acclaimed, but also personally I enjoy. Because like there's just loads of ones that aren't really in there and near the top, you know, near the lower end, where I've like, you know, it's very obvious. Like Mundawn is a game that I really, really love, but it's not one that I would say is like, you know, critically acclaimed. But yeah, that's that video. Basically, there's only like a little bit left of that to do, but I've been kind of putting it off because I've been very focused on the other two. And one of them I've written majority of it, but I've kind of been trying to get more into it, and I feel like the writing is a bit kind of lopsided in terms of like half of it is me talking about how horror games and stuff take a lot away from movies, and how they are like, you know, a linear series of events retold in a game, you know, and how the reason why all of this happens like that is, you know, it's to say that everything in a game happens for a reason, and that's true. But like the thing that I'm supposed to be talking about it in it is how there are several unsettling things that happen in Fatal Frame 2 that don't happen for a reason that at least I can figure out. And one of them I mentioned is there's a zombie. Oh no, sorry, not a zombie. There's a mummy that sits on a table in one of the rooms in Fatal Frame 2, and there are no corpses in this, you know, game at all, really. Like there's a lump in a mattress and that's about it. And when you see this like mummy sitting on the table, there is no explanation for it. It's not addressed in any of the diary entries or anything that I could have found, and it doesn't really seem to have a reason to exist, but it's there. And I find that more confusing and upsetting than anything else in that game besides the other one, which is, if you go back to the first part of the game, there's the girl that you defeated at the start of the game, the very first ghost you deal with. And if you take the camera and look out into this back room and like stare at the garden, she's out there back to you, just staring out into nothing. And I find that so unsettling. If you take pictures, nothing happens. You can't interact with her. She just, you know, she's just there. And that's the other one that I want to talk about, and I find it like super unsettling because I don't understand why it's there, and there's no like game design reason why it's there. And there are things like that in other games that I can think of. Like, there's a difference between like creepy scenery, you know, that fits in with everything else, and then there's creepy scenery that stands out from everything else, as in it's out of place. Like, another one of the examples I think I was going to use, but I haven't written in yet, is in the very first house in Demonologist, which is like a Phasmophobia, like multiplayer horror game. There's I think it's like a balloon or something that has like a ghost sort of shape thrown over it, and it doesn't really fit in with anything else on that floor, and it stands out pretty dramatically, but nothing ever really happens with it. It doesn't do anything. It's just there. And I've been trying desperately to kind of find a way to, you know, make the video make sense in a way that going like, you know, everything in the game, everything in games usually happens for a reason. You know, the reason why this does this is because of this, and this does that because of that. But here are a bunch of things that that just don't abide by the normal law of, you know, reasoning in games, and these are the things that bug me. And that's all it really is boiling down to, is like, these are the things that bug me. Anyway, that's enough talk about that video. That one's the less interesting one. The more interesting one is supposed to be the Sci-Fi Horror one, which I have been working on extensively. I watched 4 films yesterday. I watched one of them I'm not going to use, but the other 3 I probably will. Event Horizon, just to remember how Event Horizon went, because I literally just drew blanks. I saw it like 2 years ago maybe, and I completely forgot what happened in Event. I remembered the scenes in Event Horizon, but I couldn't remember like the catalyst for it. So I decided to rewatch it. I feel like it can't hurt to, you know, have a better memory of it. So I rewatched that. I rewatched Primer, which is not a horror film, but it is a sci-fi film, and it's something that has a lot of implications the more the deeper you go into it. It's one of the talking points in the thing, because there are a couple of films that I know of, and then I watched like Apollo 18. I watched several other films. I can't remember what the other ones were now. I watched several other films before the 4 that I watched yesterday. And they're all got different. Oh, Sea Fever, that was it. They're all different parts of how this video is going to be laid out, which is now getting longer and longer. So like the video is called Sci-Fi Horror, Science, Death and Beyond, right? And that's the working title. It may change, but that's the working title. And the way that the video is going to be is it's going to open with like science experiments and like, you know, how misappropriation of technology can lead to certain things. Then there's an example of like the Jeff Goldblum in The Fly, and there's Soma, and how, you know, the phrase of like the best intentions pave the road to hell, or whatever. No, the road to hell is paved by good intentions. And then, you know, there's lots of examples of that. With like Event Horizon, where, you know, they just wanted to save time traveling from one point to the next. So basically, it's just a more elaborate version of The Fly, really, with equally horrifying results. And on the other, then the next part is about it follows on from Soma and talks about like, you know, the horrors of the science that we made ourselves, and it's like artificial intelligence with again Soma and I Have No Mouth and I Must Scream. Then it goes into like alien abductions and then we talk about like about alien invasions and alien abductions, and it's going to have like Sea Fever, which is a film about really good film if you haven't seen that, very very good. It's about a Irish crew of fishermen and a grad student, I believe, who's like PhD student, I don't know what the term is, who's gone aboard a boat to examine, you know, do sort of like marine biology samples or whatever, and they go into an exclusion zone that they're not supposed to go into, because the fishermen want to catch fish, and this is the best place they can think of to do it. And they come into contact with a life form, and it all goes horribly wrong, because the life form is something they've never interacted with before, and like, you know, it does terrible things to them inadvertently. Like, it's benign, it's not even hostile, but like the way that it just exists is bad enough to, you know, affect them. And that's another thing that I'll be talking about, like how like conflicting sciences is going to be a thing, where like I'm going to be talking about Nicolas Cage's Color Out of Space, which is another thing. There's going to be plenty of references to, like, you know, cosmic horror in there, but not so many. You know, it's not working around that premise of it. I want to talk about it, but I want to differentiate the two in a way. Then it's going to go on to alien abductions and alien invasions, and I'm going to be talking about the John Carpenter's The Thing. Then I'm going to be talking about Dark Skies and They Are Here, which is a game based on alien abductions. I was going to talk about alien invasions, and I was going to bring up like the 2006 Prey briefly. Not going to talk about that for very long. It's not one of the ones that's like, you know, a big deal worth, you know, talking about, because it's not a horror game. But then there was going to be like, you know, War of the Worlds, because I love talking about War of the Worlds, and how alien invasions are just kind of, you know, the reality of an alien invasion would be that there would be no invasion. Just like that would be it. You know, the intention would be carried through to the end, and we would be like an obstacle in its way. I may even bring up the old All Our Tomorrows thing, which I brought up in the Cosmic Horror video, because that is horrifying. Then the last part of the thing, the last part of the video is just going to be about real life and astrophobia, and how the very, you know, real things that are actually out there are far more terrifying than a lot of the almost fantasy things that you've been listening to up until this point. Like, the scary thing about science is that all of the things that you've experienced so far in the video are going to be like what ifs, but the last part of the video is just going to be the what ares. Like, this is real. Like, this, like, it's going to be a lot of hard science and talking about how, you know, space in itself works along those lines. And, you know, that's where the video is going to just end and drift off on the words of, like, you know, space is so unbelievably big or something. I've written a fair bit of that part, but I haven't like done like the zinger ending yet. So yeah, there's a lot of content to go in that bit. But I'm trying to make an adequate through line and make enough points to it, because I feel like some of the video so far has just been kind of like, and then I saw this film, and then I watched that film, and then I played this game, and then I did that. Because it doesn't feel like at the moment that it's like a proper through line with a story that's being told, like I like the videos to be. It feels more like, you know, a list. And I'm trying to make a way to make that work better, because I want it to be along the lines of the psychological horror video, which is still my favorite video that I think I've ever made. So yeah, I want it to be like that. Anyway, yeah, that's about it really for all of the things that are worth talking about. Nothing else has really transpired. I've been spending a lot of time writing and watching films, and, you know, most of the last couple of weeks, not last week, but the week before that and the week before that were spent doing the 7,000 subscriber video to answer one question. But I'm pretty thrilled with how that turned out, and I'm really excited for the stuff that I'm working on at the moment, especially obviously the sci-fi horror thing. I'm very, very excited. I'm literally, after I've done recording this today, I'm going to leave it on the computer and then probably go talk about it some more, write down some more bits and pieces for it, because I'm just extremely excited to talk about that. So yeah, that's about it. It's not a particularly interesting update, but I hope that the sci-fi horror video at least, you know, sounds exciting, because hey, I'm excited to make it. So yeah, I'll see you all next time. Thank you all for subscribing, and, you know, the nice comments that I get and stuff. It's after the 7,000 one, like, it's starting to, you know, starting to feel like I do YouTube properly or something. So yeah, thank you all, and I'll see you all later.